Hi. Annie Smith here. Today I want to talk to you about sound sensitivities. Sure, we all have sounds that may get on our nerves occasionally. However, some people are more sensitive to certain noises than others. There are several kinds of sound sensitivity, including hyperacusis, phonophobia, and misophonia. These have a lot in common, but they are separate conditions. Hyperacusis is an increased sensitivity to certain frequencies and/or volume levels of sounds. Some of these sounds may be more unpleasant to the sufferer than to others. For example, a person with hyperacusis may be much more bothered by extremely loud music than his or her friend, who often drives with the radio on full blast. A person with this condition may experience ear pain and a general decrease in tolerance for sounds others around them rather enjoy. The sufferer may cry or panic when exposed to the triggering sound. Causes of hyperacusis may range from innately more sensitive ears to noise-induced hearing loss to certain diseases. It can also be potentially caused by PTSD and severe head trauma. Some sufferers may or may not also have tinnitus, a ringing in the ears. Sometimes, hyperacusis can also be a main cause of the next condition we're going to discuss, phonophobia. Phonophobia is a step up from hyperacusis in that it also involves being afraid of certain sounds or simply more adverse to those sounds. Phonophobics may more likely be afraid of certain voice textures, some are even afraid of their own voices. I spoke to a lady recently who said she was very intolerant of singing. She could handle a limited amount of it, but she didn't like most people's singing voices. This phobia is pretty rare, so you don't hear about it that much. Some reactions to a phonophobia trigger sound may include heavy breathing, anxiety, panic, a need to escape the environment in which the sound is present, and mild to severe discomfort. Phonophobia can also be seen as a form of misophonia, and these terms can often be confused with each other. Well, they are pretty similar in that they both cause a hatred of certain sounds. However, they are different in the types of reactions you may see in sufferers. Phonophobia is about fearing the sound, whereas misophonia is mostly about an angrier type of response. Sound triggers can cause any kind of negative emotions or thoughts and sometimes violent physical reactions in a misophonic. There's no telling what actually causes phonophobia or misophonia as far as psychiatric, neurological, or just auditory conditions. For this reason, we certainly cannot classify misophonia as an outright disorder. Because there isn't as much research done around phonophobia and misophonia, they are the two most difficult kinds of sound sensitivities to understand. Sufferers of these sound sensitivities often have to avoid certain social situations to reduce the likelihood of being triggered. Sometimes, a trigger is so prominent in one's life that they end up isolating themselves just to get some peace in their lives. Also, sufferers avoid these social situations because of people's reactions to a sufferer's reaction to a sound or their advocacy about the sound sensitivity. It truly saddens me that we are often not as supportive as we should be. We have accused these people of having cognitive distortions or just making excuses to get out of things. We call these people too sensitive or label them as difficult to deal with. We tell sufferers of sound sensitivities things like, tune it out or get over it or you're just being emotional. Never helpful. Just saying. Honestly, I've ended friendships over the ways people have reacted to my sound sensitivities. It's such a toxic, negative, and judgmental way to talk to someone who is going through such a real problem. How would you feel if you had an allergy and someone acted like you were making it up or took it personally every time you asked them not to do something because it triggers you? I get so angry thinking about how many sound-sensitive people that have hidden in a shell because people didn't take them seriously. How many of these people have to suffer in silence just because their own friends laughed or called them overly sensitive or accused them of letting things get to them too easily. We assume too easily that these people can control their conditions and reactions. I've also seen people not only try to minimize the problem, but mock the sufferer with their trigger. Sometimes, the person will exaggerate the sound just to make the sufferer crazy. I just wish I could walk up to those people and tell them, stop that. Try being more respectful of others for goodness sake. All right. Now that I'm done with my rant, let me tell you how to act instead when you live with or deal with a sound-sensitive person on a regular basis. First of all, listen to the person when they advocate their sound sensitivities and try to explain how they are affected. Don't expect to understand it right away. It's going to take time. All you can do is listen and accept the person just as they are. Acceptance and empathy is so important to these sufferers. If you withhold your negative judgments and keep an accepting, empathic attitude, the sufferer will see you as an understanding person they can trust and open up to. They will have a much easier time healing without the burden of being misunderstood on their shoulders as well as their sound triggers. No matter what, try to stay positive and supportive at all times. You'd be amazed how helpful this is. I'll talk more about acceptance and unconditional positive regard in another video. Next, it is a good idea to ask the sufferer what he or she would like you to do to help them out. You can find out what to do and what not to do. Again, accept it even if you don't agree with it. Offer solutions, but don't be pushy about it and don't jump into solutions without the sufferer's consent. Do your own research so you can gain an understanding of what this person is going through. Last, but not least, be ready to compromise. Even if it means you cannot have family meals as often as you like, or you have to make karaoke in the car a thing of the past, there may be a chance of a stronger relationship between you and that person. Sometimes, we have to make sacrifices. For the people struggling with sound sensitivities, there are ways you can relieve yourself of your triggers, such as tinnitus retraining therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, if you believe your thoughts have something to do with it, and adding pleasant background noise. I think, however, that self-help techniques will be better for most sufferers since they understand their problems better than many therapists might because of the scarcity of research. You may never be able to cure your condition, but you could make symptoms more manageable if you have good knowledge and a positive, accepting support system that encourages you to do what works for you. Just know that hyperacusis, phonophobia, and misophonia are more normal than they may seem. These are real conditions, you're not going crazy, and there just might be someone out there who understands what you're going through. You can try some self-help stuff, talk about it with supportive friends or a counselor, or you can even talk to me. I have my own sound sensitivities, so I'm pretty well experienced on this subject. If you or someone you know has a sound sensitivity that has made life a little or a lot unpleasant, feel free to leave your story in the comments or email it to me. I also recommend reading a letter someone posted on Misophonia International. I'll leave it in the description. You can use this letter as education or an aid to advocate for your struggles. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please like the video and subscribe for more content. Have a blessed Labor Day.